What's up, y'all? Welcome to Girl Left on Red with me, Ari. All right, and today we are diving into Legendborn. We're going full spoilers. So if you haven't read these books yet, consider this your warning. Let's get into it. We're talking characters, themes, and absolute mess that Brie Matthews walked into the second she stepped into the UNC campus. So from the jump, Bree is dealing with grief. Her mother's death is this huge unprocessed weight on her. All right. And when she stumbles into the legend born world, it's not just grief anymore. It becomes her history, its legacy, its centuries old system that does not want her there. And we do find connections between the two. But what I love about Brie is that she's constantly told no, and she's like, "That's cute. Watch me." And just to compare it, I do love another book that I'm reading where there's just a very strong women female character lead, and that's Fourth Wing with Violet. And although there's so many things stacked against her, the way she pushes through and she just becomes a very strong leader type of person, it's giving this with Brie as well. So I just love to see that. I love that authors are doing this and bringing this, and it's not like a whiny kind of girl that's consistently leaning on a man or another character to help them. It's like they're taking charge and they're spicy and they're a little violent and they have a little aggression, a little assertiveness. I love all of that. So Bree's giving me all of that and I'm here for it. From there, she just dominates and takes over, right? So a lot of people are pitting against her. They're not trying to help her. They do not want her around. She does have characters like Nick that are helping her out, William that are helping her, being very open and welcoming to her. But a lot of the other people in this order are just trying to shut her down and keep her out, which is a major theme in the book. It's just revolved around South and racism and things like that. So you do see, Tracy doesn't try to sugarcoat it. She makes it very obvious that there's this issue that even today we might even see in modern day. She wraps it in magic, she wraps it in the order, but it's like obvious that this is something that is an issue in America and in the South. And I just love how she ties it in, but then makes it, we honestly don't need y'all. But so the order tries to confine her, control her, erase her identity, and make her fit their mold. But Bree does not let them. Instead, she leans into her own power. And when Arthur's magic isn't enough, she turns to her real roots, rootcraft. All right. So just a quick recap, right? We know that Bree ends up being chosen by King Arthur, right? Through the bloodlines. He chooses her instead of Nick. Nick was the prophesized one. Like everybody figured it was going to be Nick due to all of the bloodlines and the way that they do everything. And he ends up being Lancelot, which is King Arthur's knight. Even though they're the closest and they're besties, it's low key a little step down. All right. We see that King Arthur chooses Bree, but it's still not enough to slay this demon that comes in at the end, Roz, I believe. And she has to lean into her own magic that she also received from her other bloodline, right? So she ends up having two bloodlines, it seems. And we find out later on a lot more, but she has two bloodlines and she's able to call on magic from both of these, right? So Arthur's being there, but then she ends up having that root ancestral magic, which I'm obsessed with. Legendborn basically is made up of the Order, and these are all of King Arthur's descendants. And she decides to join this order so that she can find out if they are behind her mother's death. So she thinks that the Order is behind her mother's death. And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to join this thing. I'm going to play along and I'm basically going to investigate because it's her mother's death is just really fishy. We don't really get a lot of what was going on or why her mother had passed so early, especially for her age. So let's get into Selwyn Kane, aka Sel. I need a nickname for him because I just feel like he's gonna be one of my favorite characters. He started off so dark and broody, but I still feel like he's gonna be one of my favorite. All right, and we're gonna call him Chaos in a trench coat. Cell starts off hostile. Genuinely. He wants Bree gone. He's not playing. But the moment she proves she's here to stay, something shifts. And let's talk about that shift. So Cell's whole life has been about loyalty to Nick, to the Order, to his duty as Merlin. But Bree just comes in and wrecks his world. Suddenly, he's not just protecting the system. His issues with his mom, things from his mom's past, and Bree's things with her mom's past, I think they find that neutral ground there, and that's the first spark that you see where they start to be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be just gun ho about this order. Maybe we should be more loyal to each other, if anything, right? But the only problem is that it's killing him. His power is literally killing him, and he still throws everything he has into keeping Bree safe, which I love. I love that. And we just see how much he's willing to devote, how he just has this just complete devotion in him, which we see it with Nick in the beginning, and then it transfers over to Bree. And this is why I feel like he's becoming one of my favorite characters. We have so many more books in the series to go, so we'll see where it takes us. So I know we're not technically talking about book 2, but let's be real. If you didn't clock that this was about to get emotionally messy in book 1, I don't know what to tell you. The tension was there, the devotion was there, and Nick, he was not ready for it. Bestie, Alice Chen, the real MVP. Can we take a moment to appreciate Alice? Because Legendborn does not happen without Alice holding it down. She doesn't have magic. She doesn't have a legacy tying her to this world. But what she does have, ride or die energy. The second Bree is in trouble, who's there? Alice is in it with her, no hesitation, no second guessing. And I respect that because Alice is the only one who never treats Bree like a pawn in some grand magical chess game scheme. She sees Bree for Bree, period. She's even worried about her hair. She's like, Bree girl, I know you're going through it. Like, you need help with your hair. Bestie, love you. All right. So those characters, Bree, Alice, Nick, and Cell are like 4 super main characters. We do have a couple other characters we'll get into in a moment, but themes we need to talk about: legacy. It's all based on legacy. Even on Bree's maternal side, paternal side, it's just ancestral legacy. It's a burden of history. This book asks one big question: who am I in this story? Bree is constantly forced to reckon with history, Arthurian, Rootcraft, her own family's past, and the Order. They only want her to inherit one part of it, but Bree, she's trying to own all of it, and that's powerful. Another theme: power, control, and who gets a say. Bree has magic, but does she have control? Nope. The Order spends the entire book trying to contain her, literally locking her up at one point. They don't care about her, just what she can do for them. And that's why Rootcraft is so important. It's her birthright, but it's also hers alone. It's hers to wield. And it's a beautiful gift and power that her ancestors bestow upon her that she's able to have. I love how even as much as King Arthur's power was really this grand, powerful thing, her rootcraft is really what saves her throughout the book. Her rootcraft is really what brings everything together, what puts her on top, what makes her save a lot of the people that she loves the most, and what gives her a lot of answers. She's able to do the walking through her ancestors and go through their history and learn a lot more. Things that even the Order doesn't know, things that even people who tried to cover up her mom's death wouldn't know. So that rootcraft is very important. It's really part of her story and her identity. And I think that Tracy did a wonderful job by creating that magical story building for her. This is about more than magic. It's about who gets to exist in these spaces without having to fight for it. She had to fight every step of the way. When she was a page, when she got into the Order, towards the end, going into Bloodmark, it's consistently a fight. They don't want to just allow her to have it, just reality for her. So it's something that a lot of people have to deal with on a daily basis in real life, and the way it's tied into this and created into like magical history, I love. I appreciate Tracy from not shying away from it. It's important, it's an important discussion, and it gets people thinking. I think it's going to get a lot of people to take a look around in their real life and think about the things that they say to people, or the places that they don't allow people, or why they don't allow people. Or when you look around, why is it only you? Why is it only people that look like you or that do things like you and not that dynamic? So I think it's really important, and I just love Tracy for not shying away from that. Another theme is love, grief, and the cost of both. So at its heart, Legendborn is about grief. All right, Bree's grief for her mother, but also the grief of losing who you thought you were. Bree doesn't get to just be a college freshman. She doesn't get to just be a girl who misses her mom. She has to become something bigger and at a cost. We don't know exactly what that cost is just yet. So far, obviously, just living a normal life, not being scared all the time, not being chased, not being used all the time. Those are already things that she's losing out on. And we see this happening. Love, all right? It's tangled up in all of it. Love is what drives her. Bree uses love a lot in the book, and it's what makes her decisions make a lot of sense, right? Love is what makes her sacrifice, and love is what keeps her fighting. And I really appreciate that, although she could have been, and this is just taking the character and acting as if the character is some type of realistic situation, right? A lot of people would have had that power and would have been in grief, would have been just in this negative racism ball institute, all of these negative things that were happening to her, not knowing a lot, being very confused about why her mom passed away, all of these things, right? And instead of going down a dark, deep end or depression or being a negative person, Bree just chooses the light a lot more. She chooses love. And I think that's why, for example, Cell is even so attracted to her and appreciates and respects her, is because he's consistently in that conflict and not by choice. It's just his nature, right? So his demonic nature is what is pulling him one way or the other. And I think that when he sees Bree, who could have easily just went the other route, who could have been more like Nick's dad, Lord Davis, could have just taken that power and forced people to do what she wanted, force answers to come. She chooses to use it to protect people and figure out answers and find justice. And I think that that's really inspiring for a character to embody. And I love that it's not just romance. It's not just about her and Nick's relationship. Overall, the people you love. Even Alice, like, he's like, yo, Alice, like, you'll be here. She shows love to everyone, to all of her friends. And I love that about her. So she ends up joining this order and she becomes a page. She is leading this whole story with her head and her heart. And it only makes things messier, but it also makes things a lot more interesting. We do know of Nick. Nick is the love interest. Nick ends up being her man, her boyfriend, her partner. He's a sophomore in college, so he's a bit older. He is 16, and being a sophomore in college, you're around what, 19, 20? So we'll see. But he's basically the golden boy with an edge. And Nick, our charming ex-Legendborn prince who just wanted to be normal, dragged back into the nonsense the second he met Bree. Bree ends up being on campus, the first night there, and there's a demon, and Nick ends up slaying and taking care of the demon, and Cell tries to erase Bree's memory, but it doesn't work, right? So in the beginning, it's just Nick is her guide, the Legendborn, and it's made up of mostly rich white kids who claim to be descendants of King Arthur's knights. I would not believe that coming off on the first time, but he's more just trying to get away from them and live his own life. But Bree reels him back in, not even there, to a little bit more about the order. So the order, which is a very like society of, let's call it what it is, very like white, elite, European. It's secret society, old money, white boys running around, running the world type of institute that dates back to King Arthur's time. People inherit the powers of Arthur's knights, and when demons slash shadow born is popping up, their nightly ancestors call them up. So the more that there are, it's almost like that Twilight moment when there were more Cullens or more vampires coming around, and then all of the native, and I'm sorry if you've never watched Twilight, but you know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. But all of the Native Americans started to turn into werewolves because there were so many vampires coming around, and it was like blood, right? So it's kind of the same situation here where it's like, because there are more shadow born demons popping up left and right, it's causing the call to happen within the order. And the call is basically a group of medieval, like Arthur's, like squad, right? And they all decided to always be able to come back through their bloodlines and just help keep these demons at bay, right? So that's pretty much the gist of it. I hope that kind of makes sense to you guys. The order elitist, and they're rich, connected, and have been gatekeeping magic for centuries. So we kind of find out also. They have strict bloodline rules, and if your family isn't part of their little tree, you don't belong. Okay. See Brie as an outsider, not just because she's new, but because she's black, and it's just very whitewashed. Okay. I'm sorry to kind of, it is what it is. Like, did not try to like upset or make it seem as if it was something else. She really was clear and letting you guys know, like, this is basically what it is. We're in the South, we're at a college, a predominantly white college, and there's this secret society. And here goes a young, beautiful black girl just infiltrating this thing. So it was very interesting to see. So this is why Bree's presence shakes things up so bad. All right. One major theme, and I'm just gonna like into it from here. One major theme is like microaggressions. You see that a lot. So Bree just doesn't have to fight demons. She has to fight for her place in this world. Okay. The moment she steps into the order, she deals with microaggressions. So people assuming she's lost, doesn't belong, like saying these things to her. Tokenism, let her train, but then they don't actually respect her, including Cell. Racism. So members straight up just don't want her there. They're just like, what is she doing here? They're like makes really like out comments, a lot of the trainings and during a lot of the things. And yet my girl Bree, she still pushes through. So I love that. Another one, love interest, right? With a little bit of drama. So let's talk about the two boys that Bree's like keeping in her orbit, right? Because it does get a little messy, in my opinion. You know, I didn't see this. Maybe you're not really thinking anything about Cell, but I think that Cell is a potential love interest. So there's Nick Davis, which is our golden boy, right? Is the old. I'm sorry. Nick is the Order's golden child, charming, handsome, rebellious, but just done with the order altogether. Like, he's really not interested. Walked away from it years ago, but gets pulled back. And when he's helping Bree, right? He mentors her, he trains her for the page trials, and then they start catching feelings and real fast. Like, I think that one kind of a little fast, but I guess, you know, teenage love, puppy love, is really fast to me. But I could see it, especially because she was in a very vulnerable state. She was, you know, dealing with her grief. So it kind of, and then is super protective as well, so that's definitely a plus, of course. And he believes in Bree before anyone else does, and I think that puts him like her main person. Like, she really leans on him, other than Alice, and she couldn't really lean on Alice because she couldn't tell Alice what was going on. Right? Sounds perfect, right? But wait. So then there's Selwyn Kane. All right, and he's problematic, and ooh, don't you just love the dark, brooding, like inside, doesn't know if he's bad, doesn't know if he's good, wants to be good, but the bad things keep happening and he kind of keeps being the bad boy. And this part to me is why I think that it does end up turning into a little bit of a love triangle, because I feel like he's honestly playing that role of the enemies to lovers role, and Nick is just that instant love role. So I could see the interest shifting later on in the series. I could definitely see that, and only one author did that perfectly for me, and that was, oh my god, I hope I don't butcher her name because I never knew how to say it. Tahari Mafi, um, if you know, but yeah, I really love that. Belle, which is his nickname, Cell Kane, the half demon Merlin, who is feral. So everybody else is like King Arthur and his whole group, but Merlin is like kind of being. And so anybody that's like a more descendant from Merlin is considered to be a different type of person, which I'll get into. Oh my God, I don't remember the name. Okay, he's so Cell Kane, the half demon Merlin, who is feral, arrogant, and absolutely convinced Bree is a threat when they first meet. Okay, here's where my theory comes in. Cell is gonna fall for Bree. She's just amazing. That's what I'm saying. So, not saying it's happening now, but the way he shifts from I will literally throw you off a building to I will die for you by the end of the book, it's giving slow burn enemies to soulmates disaster. And I'm here for every bit of it. Let's not forget he's best friends with Nick. Imagine that tension. I know. I'm so looking forward to that, and I think it's because I'm just so much of a romance girly. Like, love a good enemies to lovers. It's honestly one of my favorite tropes. I don't know. I just think it just hits every time. But yeah, in that one. I bet you guys were not really thinking of that one. And if you were, oh my God, please let me know in the comments. I'm not alone. I always randomly have these theories that I feel like nobody else sees. And then I say it and then it happens and it comes true. So we'll see. All right. So another character that we definitely kind of like a quick overview because talk about the antagonist, okay? Lord Davis, the actual worst. All right. Now, he's the true villain of this book. Nick's father, Lord Martin Davis. This man is the definition of power hungry, manipulative, and straight up evil. Okay. He treats Nick like up to advance his own agenda. He betrays the entire order to gain more power, and he literally causes the battle that leads to Bree's awakening as guess who? You got it, King Arthur's scion. This man really said, I will destroy everything to make sure I stay in power. And then got, okay, I won't even say it because I did read the second book already. So I'm not gonna say what happened, but yeah, just will be a poetic justice. Okay. Yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah. Back to Bree. All right. So Bree's power and why Arthur chose her. Bree isn't just some random girl who lucked into this, by the way. Arthur didn't choose her by accident. She was meant to be king. Why? Because she cares about people. She protects the people she loves, even when they doubt her. She's a natural leader, and she's exactly what the order needs to fix their broken system, right? The order has spent centuries prioritizing bloodlines over actual leadership. Arthur's spirit saw this and said, Bree, I choose you. And let's stir this thing up. Let's make this thing real uncomfortable. I'm stronger than tradition. I don't know. It's a lot, but I think that Arthur did kind of over her body a little bit too much and it got a little uncomfortable. He's very daunting to me as a like character that's not really there but that is there. See how that one plays out. All right, so by the end of Legendborn, everything is a mess. You would think that things would get together by the end of Legendborn. No, it just set up pretty much for the rest of the series. Lots of issues, lots of things going on that needs to get solved. That's your son. The order is just in a frenzy that Bree claims Arthur's title. Completely unexpected. I didn't expect it. I honestly thought she was going to be like Arthur's wife or something. I don't know. Like, I did not expect her to like embody the whole man spirit while I was reading it. Like, it's interesting. Bree becomes just basically a walking target for a lot of, right? Cell is struggling with his demon side. And I really want to get to know more about that one. I feel like he does, like, they mention his mom a lot. They mention that it's the more he uses his power, the more he gets closer to becoming demonic. So that's kind of because he has to use it a lot just to protect all of the other people, including Bree and including Lancelot, right? I think Bree is definitely like, all right, let's fix this. Final thoughts. Legendborn is so much. Of course, it's that first book, a lot of world building, magic and war and history and identity, and fighting for a place in a world that wasn't made for you. And Bree, She's not just surviving it, she's changing it, and she's actually thriving in it.